Hey, good day, everyone. Dan Labert of NACBA back with you with another video segment. But today we're talking about the upcoming NACBA Tech Bonanza. And we're going to talk about what that is, what the highlights are, and why you should be registering. I figured no better than to bring in Jenny Doling, who's a familiar face with the NACBA membership, longtime member, kind of started off as a NACBA state chair, probably flooding you with emails why you should get involved, why it matters, why advocacy matters. But then she's been everywhere, right? Her practice is exploded. Filings are up. We have her on the rules committee for bankruptcy. She's been part of the San Diego Bankruptcy Forum. She serves on the NACBA board of directors. And if you visit Jenny in Palm Desert, California, you'll see all the stuff that she's been doing as a very successful bankruptcy practitioner. So Jenny, I set you up pretty well there. Tell us a little bit about you and your firm and how you kind of got involved with NACBA, and then we'll jump in to the Bonanza.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the very nice introduction. I joined NACBA in 2004 as a newbie lawyer. I started in 2000, but joined NACBA in 2004 and attended my first conference when the '05 big bill happened. The new BAP-CIPA bill happened. I think I still call it the new bill to this day. It's still the newest one out there, really, right?
Yeah.
And I went to the conference and came back thinking, oh my God, these are my people. They understand my frustrations. They can answer my questions. They inspired me. I remember going back to my practice, editing my forms, my intake form, editing my fee agreements, things like that. And then got involved in the listserv, really learned how to manage the BAP-CIPA changes off the listserv and brought that back into my practice. I've been going to NACBA conferences ever since. It's such a small but robust community and really helpful to everybody. I mean, anybody's willing to share forms with you, share pleadings with you, share ideas. And I've always tried to give back in that same way, answering questions for colleagues across the country, sending referrals. Somebody asked me, do you know an attorney in Kansas? And I've got somebody in Kansas to give them, And you don't have that when you're only involved in the local organizations. So there's a place for both. In my practice, I am primarily bankruptcy and tax resolution, and been doing that for quite a few years now, 25 years now, and love what I do. Love being on the NACBA board, trying to bring in new membership and help build up the organization, keep the strength going with the NACBA organization.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of things there, and it's always like, it's funny, you mentioned Kansas, and I could name 3 Kansas NACBA members just like that from being involved. But the listserv was the value prop for NACBA many years, and there's still a lot of activity on the listserv, and you answer questions, other people answer questions, and together, the rising tide lifts all ships. But NACBA Tech Bonanza, let's just talk about what that is. It's going to be August 18th through August 22nd, and I don't want to steal the thunder of the answer to your questions, but a lot of it stems from NACBA members saying, hey, I got this problem. I'm using this. Now what? So have a way. What is the NACBA Tech Bonanza?
Yeah, so in or around January of this year, Rachel Hodgen, NACBA's executive director, and I were kind of brainstorming some new content ideas for NACBA. And this came out of that conversation. One of the things that we all see is, people are posting questions about Jubilee, about Best Case, about Next Chapter, on social media and the listserv to other bankruptcy attorneys. They're not just going to their software provider, because a lot of the times the software provider, no matter how good they are, can't really dive into how you use it in your firm. And so we were thinking, let's do this. Let's get a NACBA member who uses that software and the software provider and put them together in some kind of a webinar. And that's where we kind of grew it to a one-week event. This is not a commercial. This is not the provider, the software provider, trying to sell you. This is getting nitty-gritty with the software provider, something that you can't really do. If you want to figure out how to do a step-up plan in a Chapter 13, the software provider, although they can help somewhat, they can't really help the details like a fellow NACBA member could. So the goal is to kind of put people in touch with other NACBA members, have an open forum where they can, bring their questions, and also where they can kind of attend over different days to figure out if they're planning on switching software, which one do they want to go to? Who's using that software? How are they using that software? Is it saving them time? Is it making them money? Those really, really intricate details that you don't get in a software demo.
No, no, and I love the highlights of it because, there are a lot of companies out there who make the investment to support NAPA, and they didn't come to us with this idea. This came from the feedback of so many members doing
Yeah.
exactly what you talk about, asking questions, or worse yet, going outside the protected listserv and posting on Facebook, which is open for everybody, including discovery. But that's a different conversation about like how to do this or am I happy with this? And this is I think the great opportunity. So let's kind of hit the highlights of it. And let me use something you said to kind of tee this up. You said NACBA members, so colleagues with the software provider of whatever service or product that is, give us the highlight. What is the highlight about doing that?
Well, for me, like I kind of mentioned, when I was trying to learn Jubilee or Next Chapter and how they do their Chapter 13 plans, because I've always been a best case user, how do I do that step up plan? And if you're familiar with that, that means if the debtor's car pays off and that's a $500 month expense that they no longer have, then you have to build that into their plan to start giving that $500 after maybe 24 months into the plan. Well, it's not, to me, very intuitive when you're trying to do that in software. So having the input of other NACBA attorneys that are using those software programs be able to tell you and answer that question live for you during the webinar, I think is a huge benefit to our members. So I think my biggest thing was I don't want people thinking, why would I pay $50 for 5 days of demos? That is not what this is. This is, our one opportunity to kind of go hands on and brainstorm with other colleagues. Someone asks a question and you're like, oh my gosh, that triggers another question in my head. Let me pose my question now and kind of build off of that for, an hour and a half, and really get those questions answered where you can open up your software. You're sitting at your desk, you're working on your client's file where you have that question and you're getting an answer live.
That's perfect, and it kinda leads me to, hey, filings are up, NACBA membership is up, but someone has to make the investment of time, talent, and treasure to make this part of their practice, to kinda keep the axe sharp as they're getting ready to take on all these different complex cases in there. You know, to you though, when you're talking about outside of specific, you mentioned the step up angle, but outside, like why else should a NACBA member register? Like what brings them closer to this? What are they going to see that they wouldn't see at a traditional demo webinar? Like I get the question part, you hit that, but you know, nitty gritty, maybe. I mean, that's where my
Yeah.
expectations are.
I think that, and the one thing I look at, and I kind of review my software, my budget every year, the end of the year, January, I do a deep dive and two things. Is it efficient? Is it effective? Those are the two things that are number one, because if you've got those two, you've got profitability. And I think NACBA, not NACBA attorneys, but bankruptcy attorneys in general, as consumer bankruptcy attorneys, struggle with being profitable. And I think, if you're not pushing yourself out of your comfort level and taking the next step, considering AI and what Glade can do with AI and things like that, you're going to fall behind. And I think that's where I would like to see more people examine what their situation is, what the next year looks like. What does 2026 look like? Am I, stuck in some old software program and I've been scared to move out of that because I, didn't have the time to examine the various software programs? This is 5 days that you can be quickly looking at it, hearing from your colleagues what's going on with these software and hopefully make your firm more efficient, more effective in dealing with clients, and more profitable, because really we are a for-profit business. And I think a lot of people forget that. Doesn't mean we can't do pro bono work, but
Right.
you've got to pay your bills first, right? Put the oxygen mask on first.
Love that example. So if I'm going to sum this up, my takeaways are this. So not only should I register for the NACBA Tech Bonanza because it's not a demo, it's not a commercial.
Right.
It's I'm able to see my colleagues, my fellow practitioners interacting with real life examples to that software or that service or that solution on how it should work for them. I also get from what you're saying is opportunity to be much more efficient. So in my head, that goes to filings are on the rise and they have been for some time now. Membership is on the rise. Where do I get the most value for my dollar? It's being more efficient and spending less time worrying about the tech provider that I'm with instead of being comfortable with the investment I've made so I could handle more cases.
And you want to know that you're using the software to its fullest potential, right? I mean, there's things that I still learn where I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know it did that. And, I'm on TikTok and I'm learning new ways to do Outlook and Word and Excel, things, little quick tips that make things more efficient. So making sure you're using it to its fullest potential is really important.
Jenny, I know you've worked hard on this, and I'll kind of go off script a little bit, but like the NACBA membership value, like this is what you get when you belong to something bigger, and being able to save time and kind of let NACBA be your practice partner. I don't want to worry about changing operating systems. I just want to know what works when I'm trying to file the case. Like that tells me super valuable, and this is one of several opportunities coming up over the next few months for NACBA members to engage. Not to forget the Dallas workshop coming up soon in October.
Yeah. Dallas, I think, is really important. We've got a lot of great new things going on, a lot of good content coming out. I'll give you a sneak peek. NACBA is launching Webinar Thursdays, where we are doing new webinars every other Thursday. And that helps the people who maybe can't make it to a workshop. But I will implore everybody to at least go to one NACBA workshop in the next one NACBA workshop or conference, in-person event in the next 18 months, because you will not regret going. The colleagues that you meet, the welcoming environment that you have at NACBA really kind of re-energizes you for the practice of bankruptcy, and we need that energy going into this increase in filings. We have to be prepared. If you don't get prepared now for your practice to grow, you're going to be growing it on the fly, and that's dangerous. I did that in 2008. I will never get that way again. I hired people to help my paralegals. I never hired someone to help me. So come learn from those of us who've been through this before. Sit down and talk to us. We talk about the fireside chats and the magic in the hallway. That really does happen.
Well, I'm just excited that I get to go to the Texas State Fair with Jenny Doling, Ed Bullets, Ide Schulman. I heard there's some interesting things there. So as we digress, but the October workshop is October 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, that week time frame in Dallas, Texas. You'll be able to see some of these tech providers there. Some people that are doing presentations here will be in person at that workshop. So you get a twofer by your support of NACBA. So Jenny Doling, everybody, Vice President, NACBA Board of Directors, decades of practice in the Palm Desert area of California, and gives a ton of her time to NACBA. And Jenny, thank you for doing that. And thank you for being on NACBA Now.
Yeah, thanks for having me.